Welcome to the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens. We have a special edition today, live from the Greg Rolls Legacy Theater right here in North Myrtle Beach. Come check them out. It's an amazing place. And I have a great guest with us today. Her name is January Fitzgerald, and she is the first, and we've been teasing this for months, so I'm a little overstimulated right now, guys, but she is the first of our League of Leaders award recipient. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Man, it's so good to have you. I've heard so many good things, and I look forward to getting to talk to you today and learn a little bit more about you. But tell us a little bit about yourself, what you've been up to lately, and what's going on.
Well, I'm here. I'm the Director of Activities at a senior living community in Carolina Forest. Indigo at Carolina Forest.
Okay.
We specialize in independent living, assisted living, and memory care.
Nice. What's your favorite thing about working there?
Well, for me, it's really hard to consider that a job or work. I have a passion for serving and entertainment, so it's a combination of those two, and I love seniors.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool that you just said what you said. You have a passion for this.
Yeah.
And I've been working on a formula that I want to talk about. I'm gonna introduce it on the show with you right now, but oftentimes I find people don't find their actual passion. They're doing a job because they're making more money. They're doing a job because of some perceived need for promotion. But passion to me is at the base of it, passion and talent. So I have this thing, and it's the key to success. All right, so right here, first time ever on the show with January Fitzgerald, we're gonna talk about the key to success, and I believe it is when you have talent plus effort equals success. And in this case, I'm going to say if you have a passion for something, that's going to lead to your effort. Then you look at your talent for doing it. That's a whole other thing where you can coordinate and do all the things you're doing. That will lead to your success. Too often we find people who they're doing things that they're really not in love with, and so you're going to have a gap in the success. Does that make sense?
Absolutely agree.
Yeah, got you. Well, how long have you been doing this for?
So I've been in senior living for 3 years.
Okay, wow, that's a long time. Well, so what inspired you when you were put in and you were nominated for this award, you got into this leadership, and again, congratulations for that. What has inspired you to a life of leadership? I mean, what brought you to this point?
I can't say that I walked in it because I wanted to. This season of life just kind of unfolded for me. And so I walked into this role of leadership without me even really knowing what I was going into. I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years.
Wow.
And I had some jobs before that I did part-time.
Yeah.
But as far as in my adult life, so when this door opened, I walked straight in and started directing and overseeing all of the activities that go on within the community, and found very quickly that I had a passion for it and a gift in being able to, understand the residents, their needs, and the families. That
goes into that talent plus effort equates to the success. I find it interesting what you said a minute ago. I find that often when we're talking about people who are trying to become a leader, right? It's like something that they believe in their head. They've read a book, they've heard a seminar, and they're like, oh, I need to go be a leader now. I believe leadership happens at all levels of organization. In fact, I believe leadership is more of a trait than a position, if that makes sense. And you said you have a natural talent for it. At what point did you realize that, though?
It wasn't really, I'm humble, so it wasn't until others started to recognize, hey, you need to be here. You need to be doing these things. You need to be a leader. You need to be an example. That I started to kind of believe those things, like, oh, okay, maybe I can lead my family and take care of my family at home, but maybe I've got something outside of that as well. Yeah,
well, that makes good sense to me. So as a stay-at-home mom, you were doing that for years. A lot of people would say that's one of the hardest jobs you could have, right?
Yeah, and I had twins.
And you had twins. Were you? So I always find it funny. And that was your first kid, right? Like, so you just had no kids, and now you have two kids. Tell me, like, at the point of motherhood, okay, what is the best leadership tip you have for your kids?
So, really, right now, the leadership is to point them straight to Jesus. I have a heart for the Lord, and to seek the Word. That's where they'll find truth at. They're 16 now, and that's really stuck with them. So,
man, that's amazing. When you're watching your kids grow up, a lot of times people say they can kind of personalize the kids' journey through themselves.
Yeah.
Besides, obviously, you want them to be find the Word of the Lord and follow that path. What do you think your kids are going to be one day? Where do you see them going? Do you see one of them being an astronaut, or do you have an idea yet?
Well, they have an idea, so they've shared that with me. They both want to go into seminary school. So
no way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a son of a minister,
oh,
so I know all about that life, and that's always a good time.
All right, maybe you can help them out.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I know all about the life of a PK. There's two kinds of preachers' kids. You got what they call the heck raiser. Sometimes not really heck, and then you have the goody two shoes. I was like the goody two shoes. My sister was the hellraiser. So, anyway, good stuff. But that's very, very powerful stuff. Tell me a little bit about your background. So I know that I've heard some rumors that you were a former Carolina Panthers top cat. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, well, let's clear up the rumors here. That is true.
Oh, no, it's not a rumor. It's a fact.
It's not a rumor.
Oh, right.
It's a fact, yeah.
And when was this?
Yeah, so I was with the Carolina Panthers from 2002 to 2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
2002. So you were in the era where they went to the playoffs. They went to the Super Bowl, I think.
First Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Super Bowl 38.
Now, did you get a chance, like when you're talking to the people, the other cheerleaders, right? And you got to get them pumped up. You're like, guys, we're going on the main stage, right?
Yeah.
You got to go to the Super Bowl and the whole 9 yards. What do you tell them? Because people must be nervous, right? I mean, you're going in front of a stage that you haven't been on before.
Well, I think it's important to remember that we're all going to hit those peak mountains. We're all going to be there, but we're also going to have those moments of lows where we're not there. So it's important to say this is a high moment right now. Let's remember that.
Yeah.
Direct our focus to do the task, do what we need to do, but also be okay with the fact that we're going to come home from this and we're going to take a dip because we're not at the Super Bowl anymore. But to remember that will be something else in life that will be that mountaintop experience.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just build off of that and expect the parts that are going to be challenges, but enjoy the rewards of the next levels. Let me ask you this, because I just find that part fascinating. I meet a lot of performers who are going in front of crowds and they have this what you would call performance anxiety. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like big
adrenaline
time.
Is what we call it.
Well, adrenaline or whatnot. I was talking during my CCMF special. I had one of the singers come on, and I said, "What's something about us that we wouldn't know?" And he said, "I have terrible performance anxiety." He said, "Before I go on stage, I feel actual sickness about being in front of that crowd." Did you see anything like that with with the other cheerleaders?
It's a diverse group of women. There were 25 of us, so everyone is very different in how they respond to our, anxiety or performance driven. But for me personally, I have that. I'm backstage, I'm twiddling my thumbs, I'm praying, I'm doing whatever I need to do, and before I know it, it's like go time.
Yeah.
And then all that's just left,
it all goes away.
Yeah, it's all left back there, and then I'll pick it up when I get off stage.
The thing that I think is really cool about it is I love the fact that when something's hard for you, it's not natural or it's a stressful event, you still go through with it.
Yeah.
That's leadership to me, and I love it that people are willing to chase the dream sometimes, even when it's hard. Did you see the young lady who performed at I believe it was at the World Series, or not, the All-Star game for baseball, and she struggled. You know what I thought of when I saw that? I thought, here's a person who probably on the main stage in front of a crowd she's never been in front of before. I think the nerves got to her, along with, I know there's some personal things, but I think those personal things were the things that she was doing to try to get over the nerves. What were your thoughts when you saw that? Besides that, it was not the most lovely rendition.
Well, I mean, obviously, I felt empathy for her because she's vulnerable. She's in front of all these people who are gonna, tear her apart. And given whatever her personal reasons were for that choice, I mean, I did feel a natural empathy for her.
There were some interesting tones used, but I actually felt the same thing. You know what I saw when I saw that moment? I'm thinking, here's somebody who, her natural environment is maybe she's got a band, maybe she's got adoring fans all around her, and now she's getting asked to go without that security of those things, and what happens at that point. And the thing I would hope for her is that she realizes that's just a part of your story, and if you do it right, that can actually be one of the best parts of your story. They had these baseball players back in the late 90s, early 2000s who were doing steroids, and one of the things I found with these players are the ones who would just come out and say, look, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done it, I wish I wouldn't have done it, but I did it. I think people heard that story and they said, okay, we've all had that happen. But these players who are just fighting it and to this day say, I never did it. It's like, okay, you're 40 pounds heavier 3 years in. How's that happen? I think that's part of what we need to learn. We can always rebound from mistakes, right?
Yeah, and resilience, I think, is a big part of that too, is that knowing that sometimes our greatest victories can come after the greatest trials. You know,
well said.
I mean, I think Jesus is a prime example of that, right?
Absolutely.
The greatest trial ended up being the greatest victory afterwards. So
100%. Speaking of, what's your favorite book in the Bible? Let's go that route.
Oh man, I love Proverbs. I love the book of Roman.
Good book.
Goodness, Ecclesiastics I love too.
Oh, so a little bit
wisdom,
of that.
A lot of wisdom there.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean that fellow had some good stuff.
Psalms is always good too when you don't really want to think too hard. You just want to go where David was.
Sometimes, if you only got like a quick moment to read a verse to inspire you. And that might be a great point for the show. What does get to you? Because I believe that sometimes we're all human. We're going to have things that bring us down a little bit. What lifts you back up? Sounds like you found yours.
Yeah.
Well, what led you to the path you're at right now? You're the director of activities at your work. How'd you get here?
Well, so I had a passion for dance. I started early on. Interesting enough, I was raised by my grandmother. Both of my birth parents were addicts and did not choose to raise me. So my grandmother gained custody of me at 3 months old. She gave me a life that I would have never had.
Wow.
Gave me opportunities. She nurtured gifts that I had. So she learned early on, about 8 years old, that I had a natural gift for performing, and enrolled me in ballet classes. And so I started taking dance. Before that, I think her first thought was I had all this extra energy. So she put me in a soccer game, put me on a soccer team, and I kept kicking the ball going the wrong way.
That's when you found out you had no hand-eye coordination.
The coach was like, this is not for her. You should try something else. So she put me in a ballet class.
Okay.
And then learned from there that I was gifted in that area. So I grew up dancing. Started dancing professionally at 16. Was raised by my grandmother, so I had a passion for dance and performance. I was a mama's girl. Because I was raised by my grandmother, I stayed at home. I really didn't leave her side much. And so when leaving the nest to perform professionally came to my plate, I thought, what can I do that's local? Because I don't want to leave home.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm from Lake Norman area. They were having auditions in Charlotte, North Carolina for the Carolina Panthers.
Wow.
And that was in 2002. So on a whim, I went out and joined about 300 other women that had that same passion. Once again, not really knowing what I was going into, just very, very blindly like, oh, this should be a lot of fun. Let's give it a try.
You just it's almost like you just see an ad and you're like, let's give it a shot, right?
Let's try it.
Yeah.
And so ended up being selected as one of the team members. Fast forward a little bit, how I get into senior living and can mix the entertainment with my love and passion for seniors is my grandmother was diagnosed with dementia in 2019, vascular dementia. And at that point, I knew that I wanted to care for her. So I took on that role as a caregiver. And for 5 years, I dedicated myself to her.
So let me. I want to get to the gravity of that. So she raised you.
She did.
And now here you are giving back,
Yeah.
and it's such a magical thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I really appreciate that because you look at sometimes the things that happen in life, and you're going through on this journey that sometimes can feel alone, and you got those bright spots around you, and you never know. I picture your grandmother making such a difference to you, and here you are.
Absolutely.
The greatest gift you can give is to give back to her. Yeah. Awesome.
And so she stayed with us, and she passed away in 2019. And after that, I was kind of left spinning a little bit. What do I do now? I've had this career in performance. Now as a caregiver, where do I fit? Where do I go? And then a job opportunity opened up. Actually, it was my mom's hospice nurse said, hey, I think you'd be really good at this. And I went to interview for the receptionist position, just thinking, I need to do something. And the director there interviewed me and saw my resume and was like, no. Oh, we're putting you someplace else. And so I said, well, I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing, but let's go for it.
What role was that? I mean, when they said they're going to put you somewhere else.
Director of activities.
They put you straight in there?
Yeah, well, I mean, her exact words were, I believe you have everything to take this to the next level.
Man, what did you say at that interview?
Who knows? Who knows?
You nailed it, whatever you did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of cool. You're coming in for a receptionist role, but I give credit to the person who saw something in you.
Absolutely.
You know, because that's not easy. I believe there's an art form to interviewing people, and when you're doing it, you're trying to dig through, find the good stuff, and sometimes it's not about what necessarily the credentials look like. It's what's inside, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and piggybacking off of that, with 3 years with the company, I was featured just most recently as the Director of Activities of the Year out of all of our communities. So,
wow.
So that was kind of another one of those things. All right, you're doing what you should be doing. You're in the right place. So,
congratulations for that, by the way. That's very cool.
Thank you.
I want to go back to the young you, okay? And just real talk, if you don't mind sharing with us. You mentioned something that I think could be traumatic, because think about another little kid who's in the situation you were in, the parents in the situation where they're saying, well, you know, we can't care for you, or whatever that may be. Tell me about how you felt as a child. What would you tell somebody else that's a child coming up through that situation?
So I grew up just being raised by my grandmother. There was never a father figure in the home. I had no idea what that relationship looked like or felt like.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, taking this a little further, I was a planned abortion. I was not even supposed to make it.
Wow.
And God intervened, praise the Lord, and saved my life. And when she went to get the procedure, she was unable to have that done.
Wow.
And so she continued to use during the pregnancy. And I was born addicted to drugs and would spend the first 3 months of my life in the neonatal intensive care unit.
Man, talk about an effect on somebody's life. And I think about the effect that the life that people have around you wouldn't have had if you weren't here.
Right, yeah.
You know, think about your kids and the grandmother and all these
the
things.
influence in that, yeah. But for me, I think in saying that is that it goes back to the leadership, and you're always going to have these moments of high. And as long as you can keep your focus, that your past is behind you. You know, if you can just keep moving forward, looking that there are going to be moments that are trials that suck the life out of you or discourage you, but if you can keep your focus on what lies ahead. I mean, I often heard once I heard someone ask the question of what's your best accomplishment, or what's your greatest accomplishment, and I like to say that I haven't had that yet. And I think that is because I am teachable. I'm still in the phase of I haven't gotten there yet.
I believe in that completely, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean, why would you ever stop?
Yeah, why do I want to look behind me and say that's the best thing I ever did?
Right, it's all downhill from here, right? You
exactly.
know, one thing, his name's on the board back there. I love Greg Rawls, and also one of the sponsors of the League of Leaders. And he was on one of my CCMF shows at one point when he announced, he said, hey, look, I believe you always got to be striving, you always be accomplishing. And he opened this theater. What a powerful thing, you never need to stop. And so I see some of these people, they hit 30 and they're like, well, it's not like in my 20s. And I'm going, no, you got a lot of life ahead. You can do big things.
I mean, your knees may hurt a little more,
right.
but just keep on moving forward.
Especially the dancer knees, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But I think that's the example, is that it's teachable. So looking back at my past and knowing that is my past, and that I control my future and what happens in the decisions that I make for my family, and the influence that I impact on them. Yeah,
very, very, very clear statement there. And I love what you said. I appreciate the fact that you said resilience. Let's go back to that step.
Yeah.
I would tell those people who are at home listening to the show today, we have to understand that very thing you said. Sometimes you might be riding high. And if you're riding high, my biggest suggestion to you would be prepared for a little downturn here and there, but it's the way you're going to react to it. The best leadership is resilient. And the other thing is not to put too much pressure on yourself, right? Sometimes people are like, they think leaders can't ever feel down. But a leader, the difference between a person who's not showing leadership and getting down is they give up. They cash in their chips. They go the other direction. When you're a leader, I believe you know that there's other people around you. One of my statements is, in leadership, I believe the best leader is the one who has the best effect on the environment around them. That's great leadership. So you don't have to be at the top of the pyramid. You just have to inspire others around you to be better, right?
Right, that's it.
Very cool. January, you've had an amazing career. I'm so proud of you for being the first League of Leaders. I look forward to people down the line following your footsteps. But let's talk a little bit about leadership. You and I were talking before the show got started. You were telling me a couple of things. What's your brand of leadership? Give us some good tips.
So my go-to is obviously what, not why. And being a leader. instead of giving the command of this is what I want you to do this, do that, I think if you sit down, you explain the why, and not even explain the why, you do the why. You walk out the why so that your team sees that. Then they start to think like you. They start to see that this is why we do the things. I know in senior living, we're so blessed that a lot of the families that we deal with a lot of loss, the families want to come back and they want to do memorial services at the community.
Wow.
And so instead of saying to the team, put out those pictures, put out these memories, here's why we're doing this. We connect those emotions with the residents and their families, and they see me walking through that why as a leader, and they just naturally walk with me. It's not me demanding, hey, do this, hey, do that, I'm going to go eat a Twinkie or whatever. I don't even like Twinkies. I'm just saying that, the why and not so much the what. I'm often reminded of that in a story with my son, Owen, who is, my twins are identical twins. They're mirror image twins.
Oh.
So he's a left-handed.
Can you tell the difference between the two when you're looking at them?
Oh, I can tell by their walk and, and everything else, yeah.
That's the good stuff, right?
Yeah, it's just something I know. Yeah. But, when you say to your child, go take out the trash, or, you're just, we explain why. I'll never forget at one time we were eating dinner as a family, and he was given a command at 4 years old, and he was asking a question, and he got kind of snapped at, do what I say and don't talk back to me. And so Owen says, then how am I supposed to communicate?
Wow. Oh, he said that?
At 4 years
old. 4 years old, man. And that's some mastery. Is he coming on the show later by that chance? We need him on.
And I remember thinking, wow, he is so wise.
Yeah.
Because, and that's an example. Instead of saying, here's why, it's not safe for you to play outside, after dark. There are things that could hurt you. Instead of don't do that. Let me tell you why. So that can, as a parent, you can use that in your life, and then you can roll that into leadership too. The what.
100%. Why don't we do more of that as managers? Why is it that so often, I'm using the word why right there, right? Why don't we more often explain why we're doing things? Because you're right. If you ever read the book Simon Sinek, Start with the Why, and he talks about the greatest companies are the ones who create the why as part of their marketing. It's not what you should do. You should go to the Greg Rolls Legacy Theater, or how we do it. Oh, we're going to perform and all. Why should you guys?
Yeah, let me tell you why.
It's going to bring emotion in you and all these other things. Why don't managers do more of that?
Yeah, ask more questions, right? The whys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that part of it is people start going about the job and they lose connection with the emotion. The passion, right. So I oftentimes, you did something great when you talked about, why do we do this? Why are we taking these pictures? Why are we maybe playing games with the people? Well, because that might be the thing that the family remembered the most, that brought them that happiness with their family member. So I love that. Tons of examples of that over time. Could you give me one with the Carolina Panthers? I hate to keep hitting that, but you were the top cat.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's a tough one.
Why smile while you're dancing, right? Well,
Yeah. Well, because you love it. You do it naturally.
Yeah.
You could really roll some of that into our appearances. Not only were we on the field, we did a lot of outside appearances as well to be a reflection of the Panthers organization.
Yes.
So the what, go do this appearance. The why is because you set a standard for the Top Cats as the NFL cheerleaders, that you're not just what they see on the screen, that you are humans with emotions, with intelligence.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
So your why would be, to just show them who you are instead of just go dance, go look pretty on the field. Here's the why. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, and I'm going to piggyback right off of that. Sometimes we have this habit of saying what you said. It's I have a construction company, so if I tell the guys, hey, I want you to go take that and put that over there, and to them it may seem like a very arbitrary task. It's like, what's the point of this, right? And I'm like, well, when you take this over here and put it over there, the customer's going to see the full view of the room, and it's going to make them a much better appearance, and they go, oh, that's really important.
Right.
This isn't just some remedial task. I'm actually doing this for a purpose. Purpose is a big part of it, right?
And then what happens after that is when you're absent,
yeah,
then they start to think like you.
Correct.
And isn't that the the idea of being a good leader is
That's the
that
goal.
me not leading it, I just took 5 days off of PTO, and my team was able to lead the community in my absence. And to me, that's a great example of a solid leader.
That is magical. One of the best compliments I ever got. And believe me, I've had my trials just like any leader has. We've all been there where we made maybe the wrong judgment call. One of the nicest things I had is a guy who worked under me a lot. And he said to me one time, he goes, you know, you weren't there. And I just kept thinking, what would Rob do? And it made me feel like, okay, well, good. We're on the right track. He's thinking.
Yeah.
Give me a great Carolina Panthers story and I'll let you off the hook.
Oh man, there are so many.
So
the highlight obviously is Super Bowl 38 in Houston, Texas. That was the big performance with Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake.
Oh my God, that was that one?
If anyone remembers that performance.
Did anything happen there?
Oh my goodness, yeah. So we were up close and personal to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you guys as stunned as the people at home were? Because that was kind of stunning.
No, we were living the moment. We were in the moment. So we were like, yeah, this is awesome.
I would put it like this. It's like, you know, those are major things that happen in the world and you're like, you know where you were when this thing happened. And usually they're bad.
I
knew where I was.
I was on the sideline.
We all, it was universally, all the people at home said,
was that staged?
Yeah.
Everyone wanted
Did
to
I
know.
just see what I think I saw? Anyway, that's a weird part.
Yeah.
And I understand you and Jake Delhomme were pretty tight.
Well, I like to call him Jake Delhomme because he took us to the Super Bowl. I don't know that he would agree that we were very tight, but that's okay.
Hey, look, if Jake Delhomme, if you're listening at home, we'd love to have you on the show sometime.
Of
Anyway,
course.
that's all. Well, hey, January, you've been great to have on the show. I appreciate all the advice. As she said, start with the why, have some resilience in everything you do, and inspire others. Have passion for what you do.
Absolutely.
Amazing stuff. You're a great representative for the League of Leaders, and we're proud of you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
And we want to thank you all for listening. This is just the first of many. January, great representative. And also, thank you for listening to the Leader Mentality Show. Thank you for our sponsors, and especially the Greg Rolls Legacy Theater. Come check them out. Thank you, Michael Sikolik and Paradise Financial Strategies. And we'll see you all next time on the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens.